You ever feel your chest tighten for no clear reason? Like your body knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet? That was me that evening. I was just driving home. Nothing dramatic. Nothing special. Just another long day. Or at least that's what I thought. I passed by my son-in-law's house without even planning to stop. Then I saw it. A silver car. Not just any car. My wife's car. The same shiny silver Lexus that should have been sitting in our garage. The one I paid for. The one she called her little reward. And it was parked right there. At his gate. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Something felt off. Real off. You know that gut feeling? The one that whispers, "This ain't right?" Yeah. That one. I told myself maybe it was nothing. Maybe she was visiting our daughter. Maybe it was just coincidence. But my daughter told me earlier she wasn't home. So why was my wife there? I pulled over slowly. Killed the engine. Sat there for a minute. My heart was beating louder than the silence outside. I could have driven away. I almost did. But something inside me said, "Go check." And I listened. I stepped out quietly. Walked toward the side of the house. Tried not to make a sound. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't spying. At least that's what I told myself. But deep down, I already knew. I reached the window. It was slightly open. And then I heard her voice. Laughing. Not the soft laugh she used at home. Not the tired one she gave me after dinner. This one was different. Sharp. Free. Almost mocking. Then I heard his voice. Calm. Confident. Like he was discussing business. When he signs the papers, it's done, he said. My brain froze. Signs what papers? We'll walk away with everything, she replied. Everything. I felt the air leave my lungs. They were talking about me. Not arguing. Not worried. Planning. Like I was some project. Some deal. Some fool. My wife. The woman I spent 25 years with. The woman I built a life for. The woman I trusted blindly. And my son-in-law. Working together. Against me. I stood there, unable to move. My hands started shaking. I don't know how long I stayed frozen. Maybe seconds. Maybe years. Time felt weird. Then I heard him again. He has no idea, he said. And she laughed. That laugh. 2 years of playing perfect wife, she said. He still thinks I adore him. Something inside my chest cracked. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just cracked. You ever have your whole reality shift in one moment? Yeah. That. I didn't yell. I didn't burst in. I did something smarter. I pulled out my phone. And I hit record. If they thought I was clueless, I wasn't about to prove them wrong. I recorded everything. Their plans. Their timeline. Their calculations. They talked about assets. Property. Bank accounts. Like they were dividing loot. Like I wasn't even human. My wife said, once the divorce goes through, I'll finally live the life I deserve. Deserve. That word burned. I worked 16-hour days for years. Missed vacations. Skipped weekends. Built a business from scratch. And she deserved it? For what? For pretending? I wanted to storm inside. I really did. But anger is loud. And loud men lose. So I stayed quiet. Because quiet men think. And thinking men win. After about 15 minutes, I slipped back to my car. I felt different. Not broken. Not even angry anymore. Cold. Just cold. You ever feel your heart turn into stone? That was me driving home. The weird thing. I still loved her. Or maybe I loved the version of her I thought was real. But that woman in that house? I didn't know her. When I reached home, the house looked the same. The garden. The driveway. The front door. But it felt fake. Like a movie set. Like I'd been living in a lie with nice furniture. I walked inside slowly. Everything looked normal. Wedding pictures on the wall. Family photos on the shelf. Memories everywhere. And suddenly they all felt staged. Like props. I sat down in the living room. 25 years. That's a long time to fake love. Or maybe she didn't fake it at first. Maybe somewhere along the way, it changed. Maybe money changed it. Maybe greed did. Or maybe she was always like this and I was too blind to see. That thought hurt the most. Because if she was always this way, then I never really knew her. And if I never knew her, what does that say about me? I replayed the recording. He was explaining legal steps. She was calculating numbers. They sounded excited. Excited about destroying me. That's when something clicked. They thought I was soft. They thought I was naive. They thought I was just a hardworking guy who trusted too much. They forgot something though. You don't build a business from nothing by being stupid. You don't survive decades in tough industries by being weak. They mistook kindness for weakness. Big mistake. I stood up and walked to my office. Opened my files. Opened my laptop. Started reviewing everything. Accounts. Ownership structures. Investments. See, here's the funny part. The real money? It wasn't where they thought it was. And the way things were structured? They had no idea. They were planning to rob a house. Without knowing the vault wasn't even inside. I actually smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I realized something. They weren't ahead. They were behind. Very behind. And that's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to let her think I knew nothing. I was going to watch. Listen. Prepare. Because if you're going to betray me, you better not miss. And trust me, they were about to miss big. But what I didn't expect was how far they were willing to go. And that part? That's where things get darker. I didn't plan to spy. I'm not that kind of man. But that night, something felt off. You ever get that feeling in your gut? Like your body knows before your brain does? Yeah, that kind. I stayed in the car longer than I should have. Engine off. Lights off. Heart loud. Her car was there. Parked clean in the driveway. Like she belonged there. Like it wasn't strange at all. And that's when my chest tightened. She told me she was out with friends. Said she needed space. Space from what? From me. I walked up slowly. Didn't knock. Didn't ring the bell. Just stood near the window. And I heard it. My own wife laughing. Soft. Comfortable. Not the forced laugh she gives me lately. A real one. That hurt more than shouting would have. Then I heard his voice. Calm. Confident. Too confident. He said, once he signs, it's over. Once he signs? Signs what? My stomach dropped. I leaned closer. I know. I shouldn't have. But would you have walked away? Be honest. She said, he trusts me. He always has. That line hit like a brick. Because she was right. I did trust her. For 25 years. 25. And in that moment, I realized something. Trust is beautiful. But blind trust? That's just being stupid. And I felt stupid. I didn't storm inside. Didn't yell. Didn't make a scene. I went back to my car. Sat there. Breathing heavy. Thinking. You see, when you build something from nothing, you learn one thing. Never react emotionally. Emotions cost money. And I built everything we had. The house. The investments. The company. The so-called perfect life. So I sat there and replayed every word. Once he signs, it's over. Over. They thought I was about to sign something. And I knew exactly what it was. Divorce papers. But not just divorce. Financial destruction. She wasn't just leaving. She was positioning herself. Smart. Cold. Calculated. And for a second, I almost admired it. Almost. The next morning, I acted normal. You ever fake a smile so well even you believe it? Yeah. That was me. I made coffee. Asked how her night was. She said, it was fine. Fine. That word should be illegal. I nodded. Like a fool. But inside I was different. I bought a small recorder that afternoon. Cheap. Simple. The kind nobody notices. I put it where it needed to be. And I waited. Because patience is power. 3 days later, I got what I needed. They met again. At our house this time. Bold, right? I was out of town. At least that's what she thought. I sat in my office upstairs. Door closed. Recorder running. And they talked. About timelines. About assets. About false accusations. False accusations. I felt my hand shake. She said, if he resists, we say emotional abuse. Courts always lean that way. I stopped breathing. Do you understand what that means? That means prison. That means reputation gone. That means everything I built, burned. And they were calm. Like they were planning a vacation. That was the moment something inside me changed. Not anger. Not sadness. Clarity. Pure clarity. They thought I was the old version of me. The trusting one. The soft one. Nah. That guy was gone. I called a lawyer the next morning. Not the family friend one. A shark. The kind that doesn't blink. I didn't tell him everything at first. Just enough. He listened. Then he asked, do you have proof? I slid the recorder across his desk. He pressed play. And as the audio filled the room, his eyebrows lifted. When it finished, he leaned back and smiled. You're not the one in danger, he said. Oh, that felt good. For the first time in days, I felt control. He explained everything. Financial shielding. Asset protection. Preemptive filing. Basically, I move first. Because in war, first strike matters. The following week, she served me papers. Dramatic entrance. Crocodile tears. I didn't want it to come to this. Really? Didn't want it? I looked at the documents. Then looked at her. And for a second, I almost laughed. Because she had no idea. None. I signed. Calmly. She looked surprised. Maybe she expected a fight. A breakdown. Begging. Nah. I signed. And said, I hope this gives you peace. Her eyes flickered. Just a second. Confusion. That's when I knew. The game had flipped. When court day came, she walked in confident. He was there too. Supportive. Smug. I stayed quiet. Let her lawyer speak. Allegations started. Emotional neglect. Control. Isolation. I almost clapped. The performance was Oscar-worthy. Then my lawyer stood. Calm. Professional. He asked the judge for permission to present evidence. And then, he pressed play. The room went silent. Her voice filled the courtroom. Clear. Cold. Calculated. Talking about false claims. Talking about money. Talking about destroying me. She went pale. He looked sick. Their lawyer panicked. And I just sat there. Still. Because revenge isn't loud. It's quiet. Everything changed after that. Allegations dropped. Settlement terms shifted. Suddenly, she wanted peace. Funny how that works. In the end, she walked away with far less than she planned. And her relationship didn't last. Of course it didn't. Because when two people bond over betrayal, trust is already dead. And me. I kept my company. My assets. My name. But here's the part nobody talks about. Winning doesn't feel how you think it will. There's no fireworks. No cheering crowd. Just silence. A different kind of quiet. Not the lonely kind. The aware kind. The kind where you finally see people clearly. If you're listening to this thinking, that could never happen to me. That's what I thought too. I wasn't naive. I was loyal. And loyalty without awareness? That's weakness. Love deeply. But don't switch off your brain. Trust. But verify. And never, ever sign anything without understanding it. Because sometimes the person smiling at you is already planning your exit. Crazy, right? Yeah. Life teaches hard lessons. But if you survive them, you come out sharper. Stronger. Colder maybe. But wiser. And sometimes, wisdom is worth the pain. People think the courtroom was the end. Nah. That was just the explosion. The real damage? That came after. You ever win something and still feel empty? That was me. I walked into the house that night alone. No shouting. No tension. No fake smiles. Just silence. And silence hits different when it's earned. I poured a drink. Didn't even taste it. Just sat there staring at the wall. 25 years. Gone. Just like that. You don't erase that overnight. You don't move on because a judge says so. That's movie stuff. Real life. Real life leaves dents. And I had dents everywhere. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to pick up. It was her. Voice softer. Different. Not confident anymore. She said, "Can we talk?" Talk? About what? The weather. I stayed quiet. She sighed. And for the first time in years, she sounded small. She said he left. Of course he did. Funny how loyalty disappears when money does. She said she made mistakes. Big ones. I didn't interrupt. Let her talk. You know why? Because when someone finally realizes your value, you don't argue. You observe. She cried. Said she didn't think I'd fight back. That line right there. That's the truth. She thought I was weak. That's what hurt the most. Not the betrayal. The underestimation. After that call, I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. Crystal clear. You see, betrayal doesn't start the day you find out. It starts way before. Small things. Cold replies. Late nights. Disrespect disguised as stress. I ignored the signs. Why? Because I didn't want the story to change. I like the version of my life in my head. Successful man. Stable marriage. Solid future. But reality. Reality was cracking for years. And I kept patching it with excuses. That's on me. Yeah. I can admit that. I wasn't perfect. Let's get that straight. I worked too much. Missed birthdays. Missed small moments. I told myself I was building security. But sometimes, people don't want security. They want attention. And maybe she felt invisible. Maybe she felt alone. Does that justify what she did? No. But pain ignored turns into something ugly. And sometimes both people are responsible. Just in different ways. Hard pill to swallow. But true. There was another layer to this. One that hurt even deeper. My daughter. She knew something. Not everything. But something. I saw it in her eyes months before the divorce. That weird tension. That forced normal behavior. One evening, after everything was exposed, she came to see me. Sat across from me at the kitchen table. Same table where I taught her math. Same table where she did homework. She looked nervous. And said, "I didn't know how to tell you." Tell me what? That your mother was planning my destruction? She said she overheard conversations. That she tried to ignore them. That she didn't think it was real. And when she realized it was, she froze. Fear does that. It freezes people. I didn't blame her. She's young. Caught between parents. That's a terrible place to stand. But I asked her one thing. Did you think I deserved it? She cried. That answer was enough. Here's something nobody tells you. When accusations are thrown, even if proven false, the stain lingers. Some friends pulled back. Some business partners got quiet. Not openly, but subtly. People love drama, but they hate standing too close to it. I had to rebuild trust. Again. From scratch. Meetings. Explanations. Private conversations. And every time I told the story, I felt that sting again. Like reopening a wound. But I did it. Because protecting your name? That's lifelong work. And I wasn't letting rumors define me. No way. Months passed. Then a year. And something strange happened. Peace. Not loud happiness. Not wild excitement. Just peace. I started waking up lighter. Started noticing small things again. Morning sunlight. Coffee aroma. Silence that wasn't heavy. I hit the gym harder. Lost weight. Cleared my head. Started reading again. Books about psychology. About patterns. About human behavior. You know what I learned. People rarely betray you suddenly. They drift first. Emotionally. Mentally. And when the gap gets big enough, someone else fills it. Simple. Brutal. True. I don't hate her. That surprises people. They expect bitterness. Rage. Revenge fantasies. Nah. I already won the legal battle. There's no point fighting ghosts. But I changed. I don't ignore red flags now. I don't confuse silence with peace. I don't overwork to prove my worth. And I don't beg to be valued. Ever. Because once someone shows you they can plan your downfall, you don't forget that. You upgrade. 2 years later. She called again. Short conversation. No drama. Just life updates. She asked if I was seeing someone. I said yes. She paused. That pause said everything. She asked if I was happy. I said, I'm calm. And that's better. You see. Happiness is loud. Calm is powerful. And I'd choose calm every time. If you're listening to this thinking, how do I protect myself? Here's the truth. Don't become paranoid. But don't become blind. Love fully. But keep awareness. Communicate early. Notice shifts. Respect yourself enough to ask hard questions. And if something feels off, it probably is. Trust your gut. It whispers before life screams. That night in the car, when I heard them planning my fall, I thought my life was ending. Turns out, it was just upgrading. Pain is a brutal teacher, but it teaches well. And sometimes the person who tried to destroy you ends up forcing you to become sharper, stronger, smarter. So yeah, they thought I was the fool. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They thought I'd crumble. But here I am, still standing, still building, still calm. And if there's one thing I know now, never underestimate the quiet one. Because the quiet one? He's always thinking. The first winter alone felt strange. The house echoed. Not loudly, just enough to remind me. You ever walk into a room and feel memories sitting there? Yeah. The couch. The kitchen counter. Even the hallway mirror. Every corner had history. And history doesn't pack its bags when someone leaves. It lingers. Some mornings I'd wake up reaching to my side of the bed. Empty. Not painful anymore. Just empty. And emptiness is weird. It doesn't scream. It just sits. But here's the twist. After a while, that emptiness started feeling like space. And space? Space is freedom. That realization hit slow. But when it hit, it changed everything. People think I handled it like a boss. Calm. Strategic. Cold. Yeah, on the outside. Inside. Different story. There were nights I replayed that audio in my head. Her voice. Calm. Talking about false accusations like it was grocery shopping. That used to burn. Deep. Because you don't just hear betrayal. You hear intention. And intention cuts deeper than mistakes. I'd sit there thinking, how long were you planning this? Weeks. Months. Years. And that question used to mess with me. But here's what I learned. Sometimes closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from acceptance. You stop asking why. You start asking what now. And that shift. That's powerful. About 6 months after the divorce, the market dipped. Hard. Investment shook. Competitors started circling. You know how business is. People smell weakness. And I had just gone through a public split. Some thought I'd be distracted. Some thought I'd crumble. Funny thing is, pain sharpened me. I was more focused than ever. Meetings tighter. Decisions faster. No emotional fog. Because when your personal life explodes, business problems feel manageable. Numbers don't lie. People do. And I preferred dealing with numbers. That year, we grew. Big. And I won't lie. That felt good. Not revenge good. Validation good. Like life saying, you're not done yet. Divorce filters people. Real quick. Some disappeared quietly. No drama. Just distance. And that's fine. But a few. They showed up. No gossip. No judgment. Just presence. One friend came over with takeout one night. Didn't ask questions. Just sat there and watched a game with me. That meant more than advice ever could. Because when you're broken a little, you don't need lectures. You need normal. And normal saved me. Never underestimate the friend who treats you the same when your world changes. That's loyalty. Rare. Yeah. This part matters. Because people assume you jump back out there fast. Nah. I waited. Not out of fear. Out of respect for myself. But eventually, I agreed to dinner. Simple place. Nothing fancy. I remember sitting there thinking, don't compare. Don't project. Don't punish someone new for old damage. Easier said than done. But I tried. And you know what surprised me? I laughed. Genuinely. Not forced. Not calculated. Just natural. That's when I realized. I wasn't broken. I was cautious. Big difference. And cautious is healthy. Broken is permanent. And I refuse to be permanent damage. Here's something nobody likes hearing. Sometimes people don't betray you because they hate you. They betray you because they stopped respecting you. Yeah. That's heavy. But think about it. When respect fades, boundaries fade. When boundaries fade, temptation walks in easy. I don't think she woke up one day planning destruction. I think it built slowly. Small resentments. Unspoken frustrations. Distance. And instead of talking, she plotted. And plotting feels powerful. Until it explodes. And when it exploded, it burned her too. Actions have fallout. Always. One afternoon, months later, she sent a message. Not dramatic. Not emotional. Just simple. I'm sorry for how I handled everything. That's it. No excuses. No blame shifting. Just that. I stared at it for a while. Because part of me waited for that. But when it came, it didn't change anything. Apologies don't rewind time. They just close doors. And that's okay. I replied with one word. Understood. Not cold. Not warm. Just final. Closure doesn't need paragraphs. If I'm honest, the biggest shift wasn't legal. Or financial. It was internal. Before all this, I needed validation. Needed appreciation. Needed to feel irreplaceable. After all this, I realized something. If someone can replace you easily, you were never valued properly. And chasing value from the wrong person? That's exhausting. So I stopped chasing. Started building peace instead. Peace in routine. Peace in health. Peace in self-respect. And self-respect? That's addictive. Once you feel it strong, you don't trade it cheap. One night I asked myself something hard. If none of this happened, would you still be the same man? The answer? Yeah. Comfortable. Distracted. Maybe a little blind. Pain forced growth. Growth forced awareness. Awareness forced change. So as ugly as it was, it evolved me. And evolution hurts. But staying stagnant? That's worse. If you're still listening, maybe you've felt betrayal too. Maybe not as dramatic. Maybe smaller. But still painful. Here's what I'll tell you. Don't let betrayal turn you bitter. Let it turn you precise. Don't close your heart. Just install boundaries. Don't seek revenge. Seek clarity. Because clarity is freedom. That night in the car, when I heard my life collapsing through a window, I thought I was losing everything. Turns out, I was losing an illusion. And illusions are expensive. Now, I don't live in illusion. I live in awareness. And awareness is calm. And calm is undefeated. You ever be fine all day. Then 2 a.m. hits? Yeah. That's when the brain gets loud. No distractions. No meetings. No gym. Just you. And your thoughts. Some nights I'd stare at the ceiling replaying everything. Not the courtroom. Not the audio. But the small memories. Vacations. Inside jokes. Random Tuesday nights. And that's what makes betrayal confusing. Because it wasn't all bad. There were good years. Real ones. And your mind struggles with that. How can something real end so fake? That question haunted me. But slowly, I stopped fighting the memories. I let them exist. Not as pain, just as chapters. And chapters don't define the whole book. They just explain parts of it. Let me be honest about something ugly. Part of me was embarrassed. Not hurt. Embarrassed. Because I'm supposed to be sharp. I negotiate million-dollar deals. I read people for a living. But at home, I missed everything. Or maybe I ignored it. And that hit my ego hard. You ever feel stupid for trusting someone? Yeah. That's ego talking. But here's the flip. Trusting isn't stupidity. Manipulating is. That realization freed me. Because I didn't lose intelligence. I chose love. And choosing love isn't weakness. Even if it backfires. After everything settled, I started noticing patterns. Not just in her. In people. How they change tone when they need something. How they avoid eye contact when hiding something. How silence gets heavier before secrets surface. It's subtle. But once you've been burned, you see smoke faster. And I don't mean paranoia. I mean awareness. There's a difference. Paranoia assumes betrayal. Awareness observes behavior. And now, I observe. Quietly. One evening my daughter asked me something that stopped me cold. She said, "Do you still believe in marriage?" That's a heavy question. Especially from your child. I didn't answer fast. Because quick answers are usually fake. I told her this. I believe in partnership. But only where respect stays alive. She nodded. And I saw relief in her face. Kids watch everything. Even when you think they don't. And I realized something bigger. How I handled this was teaching her something about strength. About boundaries. About dignity. And that mattered more than the divorce ever could. About 2 years in, something strange happened. I stopped telling the story in my head. It just wasn't loud anymore. You know how at first every thought connects back to the pain. Then one day, it doesn't. You wake up and your first thought isn't about them. It's about your day. That's healing. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just quiet progress. And quiet progress is the strongest kind. Because it lasts. That year I received an industry award. Big one. Stage. Lights. Applause. I stood there holding that plaque thinking, crazy how close I was to losing all this. Because if I had signed blindly, if I had reacted emotionally, if I had exploded that night instead of thinking, everything would have been different. And that's when it clicked. Self-control saved my life. Not anger. Not revenge. Control. That's power. One morning after the gym, I looked in the mirror longer than usual. Not checking muscles. Not checking age. Checking presence. And I saw someone different. Calmer. Less reactive. More grounded. Pain matured me. That's the truth. It shaved off the need to impress. The need to prove. Now, if someone values me, good. If they don't, also good. Because my worth isn't up for negotiation anymore. And that shift. That's priceless. There was a brief moment when I wondered, what if I had just confronted her that first night? What if I knocked on that door? What if I yelled? Maybe things would have unfolded differently. But then I realized, emotion would have cost me everything. They were prepared for a fight. They weren't prepared for strategy. And strategy wins long term. So no, I don't regret staying quiet. Silence was my advantage. And patience? That was my weapon. Here's something real. Love doesn't die in one moment. It fades slowly. Like color washing out of fabric. And if you don't refresh it, it dulls. I played a part in that dulling. Work. Stress. Routine. But love requires maintenance. So does respect. If either drops too low, the relationship cracks. And cracks ignored, they spread. I've learned now. Communication isn't optional. It's oxygen. Without it, everything suffocates. If I had to describe who I am now, I'd say this. I'm not colder. I'm clearer. I'm not distant. I'm selective. I'm not afraid of love. I'm just aware of its conditions. And here's the part most people won't say out loud. Sometimes the person who tries to break you actually builds your strongest version. That night in the car, that wasn't the end of my story. That was the wake-up call. And wake-up calls hurt. But they also save you. So yeah, they thought I was the fool. They thought I wouldn't recover. They thought I'd collapse under pressure. But pressure creates diamonds. And I guess I had more resilience than they calculated. And if you're going through something like this right now, just know, stay calm, stay smart, stay grounded. Because storms pass. But how you stand in them, that defines you. The last real conversation happened on a random afternoon. Not planned. Not emotional. Just accidental. We crossed paths at a mutual event. Public place. Bright lights. Polite smiles. She looked different. Not worse. Not better. Just tired. Life had moved on for both of us. We spoke for maybe 5 minutes. Small talk. Safe topics. Weather. Work. Health. Then she said something that caught me off guard. You changed. I nodded. I had to. She didn't argue. Because she knew. We stood there in silence for a second. And for the first time, there was no anger between us. No tension. Just two people who once built something. And then burned it. Strange how life works. We said goodbye. No hug. No drama. Just closure. And I walked away lighter. Eventually, I sold the house. Yeah. The same one. The one with memories in every corner. People told me to keep it. Said it was a symbol of success. But to me, it was a museum of old energy. And I wasn't living in a museum. I wasn't visiting the past every day. So I sold it. Moved somewhere simpler. Cleaner. Not smaller in value. Smaller in noise. And that move. That felt like the final reset. Because sometimes healing requires new walls. Here's something funny. I almost lost millions. Almost lost reputation. Almost lost freedom. But what I gained was clarity. And clarity is wealth. I now understand people better. Understand myself better. Understand silence better. I don't rush decisions. I don't sign blindly. I don't ignore discomfort. And I definitely don't underestimate my instincts. That gut feeling in the car that night? It saved me. Always listen to that voice. It whispers before chaos screams. If I could sit down with the younger version of me, the ambitious one, the trusting one, the busy one, I'd say this. Slow down. Money grows. Businesses grow. But relationships, they need attention. Not just provision. And I'd also say, don't ignore the small shifts. Tone changes matter. Distance matters. Respect matters. And if something feels off, don't bury it. Address it early. Because prevention is easier than survival. I'm not married again. Maybe one day. Maybe not. But I'm not lonely. There's a difference. Lonely is needing someone. Peace is enjoying your own company. And I enjoy mine now. I travel more. Spend time with my daughter. Laugh freely. Sleep deeply. No paranoia. No bitterness. Just awareness. And awareness doesn't weigh you down. It protects you. If you've listened this far, maybe you're searching for something. Closure. Strength. Validation. Here's what I learned the hard way. Betrayal doesn't destroy you. Reaction does. Stay calm when others expect chaos. Stay strategic when others expect emotion. Stay grounded when others expect collapse. Because the person who controls himself controls the outcome. That night I could have exploded. I could have knocked on that door. Yelled. Accused. Destroyed everything instantly. Instead, I waited. And that waiting saved my future. Patience isn't weakness. It's power in disguise. Sometimes the worst moment of your life is actually the turning point. You just don't see it yet. When I sat in that dark car, hearing my own wife plan my fall, I thought it was over. I thought my world ended. But it didn't end. It exposed. It revealed cracks I refused to see. It forced me to evolve. And evolution hurts. But stagnation kills. So here I am. Years later. Calm. Focused. Stronger than before. Not because I won in court. Not because I kept my money. But because I kept my composure. And that's something nobody can take from you. They tried to outplay me. They tried to outsmart me. They thought I wouldn't notice. But the quiet ones? We notice everything. We just don't react immediately. We calculate. We prepare. We move when it matters. And when we move, it's final. So if life ever puts you in that car, in that dark moment, hearing something that cracks your chest silently, don't panic. Don't explode. Breathe. Think. Plan. Because storms reveal character. And character decides outcomes. That's my story. No heroes. No villains. Just choices. Consequences. Growth. And peace. And if you take anything from it, let it be this. Stay calm. Stay aware. And never underestimate your own strength. Because sometimes, the person they thought was weak is just quietly becoming unstoppable. For more, subscribe to our channel.